Hello, and welcome to Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. If you've ever found yourself asking, is this all there is to life? Then you're in the right place. I'm Debbie, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and coach. And every Tuesday, I'm here to share a sprinkle of hope and inspiration. Together, we'll uncover the more joy, more fulfillment, more prosperity, more fun. We'll share stories of transformation, actionable tips, and that little nudge you need to take the next step. So let's embark on this journey of discovery and say, maybe I can, to a life filled with more. Ready to find out? Let's get started. The Maybe I Can show starts now. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Debbie Weiss, and today I'm very excited for you and I both to meet my guest because she and I have never met before, and I kind of like that because that means that I get to learn all about her at the same time that you are. So let me tell you a little something about her. My guest today is Amy Boyle. She's a renowned multimedia journalist, photographer, and podcast host dedicated to amplifying voices and capturing the light within every story. With over 18 years of experience, her work has been featured in major news publications, showcasing her talent for visual storytelling. Amy is the creative force behind the Speaking of Phenomenal podcast, where she celebrates the unique stories of extraordinary women. As a passionate advocate for women's empowerment, Amy's projects, including the 52 Phenomenal Woman Project, highlight the diverse experiences and achievements of women from all walks of life. Her empathetic approach and artistic vision make her a sought-after guest, offering inspiring insights on storytelling, photography, and the power of women's voices. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I'm very excited to be here.
Me too. Very happy to have you. So as I begin all episodes, I have to ask you my signature question, which is, tell us about a time when you had a defeated I can't attitude and you turned it into a more empowered maybe I can mindset.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. As we mentioned briefly in our get to know you set up the Zoom, in 50 plus years of experience, I think I've had a few of those opportunities from can'ts to can, and just a few, just to be honest. Right. And one of the more recent ones was in 2021. We're coming off of the pandemic, sort of. My mom had fallen ill and I was taking care of her. She ended up passing in late November. And I, like many people in that situation, was feeling lost. There were a lot of can'ts. There were a lot of hopes and dreams and wishes and then full stop. But one of the things that I thought I would do was to go back to school. My husband and I have 4 sons. They are all plus 20 now. And I thought, well, I'm going to do that. But I was met with a lot of opposition. I was met with opposition from some near and dear friends, like, kind of, do you really need to do that? Why would you do that? I was met with a little opposition when I was thinking about applying. And it's like, gosh. So I started to question the want that I had. And I ended up going for it. And it turned into the best can and did, because not only did I go to school, get my master's degree in journalism, then lo and behold, this last March, I got asked to teach at the school that I just graduated from. So it's kind of one of those, wow, but I had to put my feet down every day and go and question, but also believe in what I was going for. The other people's can'ts or their willingness to dream as big as I was trying to dream, that their dreams weren't my dream. My dream was my dream. And I did it. So.
Oh my goodness. That is such an amazing story on so many levels. First of all, I'm sorry about your mom. Since we don't know each other, I'm a lifelong caregiver and a widow from late 2022. So I get everything that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I also, and I think a lot of us can really relate to how difficult it is to trust your gut when other people who are supposed to love you are, telling you you're crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And at that point in time, just knowing that the rug had literally been pulled out from under me,
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure which way was up. Um, I recently in the last year, since I don't know if you're a Jimmy Buffett fan or not, but when he passed away, one of his last songs that was released was Bubbles Up. And it's like, when you can't see up from down, look where the bubbles are going. And it's just one of those things that we have to have that internal, like, where
Yeah.
are our bubbles going? Where is our next breath coming from? The put the oxygen mask on yourself first kind of scenario, and do whatever we can in small and in big ways.
Well, congratulations. That is extremely, extremely inspiring. And personally, that makes me feel better because lately I have people sometimes questioning what I'm doing with my life. And it does make me second guess until I realize they don't get it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody can get whatever's going on inside of each of us.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So, what first inspired you to become a journalist, a photographer? Like, was it from the time you were a little girl?
You know, I think it really stemmed from the fact that both of my parents were very creative in their levels of expression. My dad loved to paint, like the house, like, walls and the exterior and stuff like that. He was also a surgeon, so he's very detail oriented. And my mom tried everything under the sun: macrame, crochet, oil painting, photography. She just had a can do attitude about everything. And for me, that was the world I lived in. I was raised a single or an only child. So I had lots of adult attention, and that was really awesome. But I also had great imaginative time as a young person, um, with the crayons, with the paints, with the clay, all the shebang. And then it was middle school, and I won a little Polaroid land camera for selling the most magazines, which my parents probably helped me sell.
Yeah.
To be honest, like we all do. That's the thing,
Exactly.
you're like, you're a win. But I never put it down. I've kept a camera physically on me for 40 years. So it's been my love. It's how I express myself. It's how I see the world. I say my superpower is freezing time.
Mm.
And I found that it's, as a professional photographer, when I do portraits for other people, it's such a gift because it's a privilege and an honor to be on the other side of the lens, to see them at their best, sometimes not always at their best, but to help them have memories so they can go back, and relive certain aspects of their life.
I, I so love that because I was just saying to someone yesterday that actually something about my husband. And I said, every time I walk past that picture of my family on the beach, right? I think many of us had those, at least those of us that live near the beach, have those pictures. The kids are little, and I'm like, it looks like the most perfect moment. But then if I think about it, I can remember the hell that was all happening before that, right? To get everyone, I don't want to wear this. No, you have to wear the matching blue and beige and, the whole thing. But I look at them and I'm amazed that I'm looking now. How could someone capture something so amazing and just get the depth of the person and the people, especially when I know what was really circling around them getting those pictures, you know? What's the difference? And I don't know anything about photography. So what's the difference, and have you always done both, like taking people's portraits and photojournalism as well?
Honestly, I started in the space of documenting my own life and story. And then I would say when I first took on clients was just about 20 years ago. And I was doing sales for a wedding photography company of all things, but only selling other people's work. And my boss had come to my house for dinner, and she saw some photos I had on the wall, and she said, "Amy, why aren't you on the other part of this business? Why aren't you out there doing?" And I'm like, it was one of those odd things. It's something that had been so familiar in my life daily that I didn't see myself doing it as a profession. Um, so I started with portraits, and then I moved into weddings, and then I moved into corporate. I had an amazing opportunity where I met somebody within the PR space, and she's like, "Oh, Billy Elliot is coming to Chicago. You have four sons, and there are four Billies in the show. Would you probably know how to handle boys of that age, and you're a photographer. Do you want to do the job?" And I was like, yeah. And that led to meeting these incredible performers that I'm still in contact with today. Um, Opening night ended up bringing Oprah and Elton and all these people that were there. And I'm like, just, trust again, going back to that trust your gut situation and use the tools that you have. And maybe we sleep on some of these tools that are very, very obvious. So who makes us what? So
Yeah, it's incredible when you look back on your journey and see how everything connected, right, to get you to those moments, those super cool moments. And then, all right, let's move into your 52 Phenomenal Women project. Where did that come from? How'd you get the idea and how did it all work?
sure. 2017, I'd been, like I said, been in business for like 12, 13 years professionally. And I think like a lot of us, we need or crave another creative thing. For me, like that turns on more parts of my brain, or how I can, busy people, when you want something done, ask a busy person kind of concept. But I needed something fulfilling. So I'm like, well, it was approaching my 50th birthday. And I thought, well, what if I did a story a week with photos and words of a woman I started with people I knew, and then I quickly moved into people I didn't know, giving them the opportunity to literally shine and see them for, the phenomenal side of them. But I gave them a premise that I didn't want just their LinkedIn bio. I didn't want their list of accolades of what school they went to and all the different stuff. I'm like, tell me about today, this moment in time that we're going to be together, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it was, that is phenomenal. So like, what gets you the color in your cheeks and your eyes to sparkle? And the project went on for 2 years every week, and 22 weeks of that was even during the height of the pandemic. So I had to get very creative on how we did the photography, how, I was like across like a street from somebody's home, and we're like, do these things. And it was hilarious. But all sides were so committed to sharing this weekly nuggets of awesomeness, just because it had built such a neat community that I didn't want it to let it go, because at a time where I felt like everybody needed this more than ever.
Oh my goodness, I love that. So I'm sure out of 52 women, it's impossible to say what was your favorite, but can you give me a couple of, your most memorable stories or whatever comes to your mind for whatever reason?
Sure. Well, and we ended up having 104.
Oh my
So
goodness.
52 weeks times 2 years. Um, there's such a variety. Everything from what I'm probably personally most proud of is that I convinced my very reluctant mother to get in front of the lens. And that was an amazing gift. Now, for me personally, looking back over time, and she ended up telling a story that I don't think I'd ever heard, about this little sewing kit that she had from her mother. So this was just, even a simple exercise like this, you could learn something about your own family. Gosh, a woman I've become very good friends with through the project is a Chicago police officer. Her name is Kim, and she's been with the Chicago PD for 21 years. But then while she was in school, or while she was a police officer, went back to school because there was a ability to do so. So she got her master's, and then she got her PhD, And now she's running a foundation to help African American boys learn how to read because the illiteracy rate is so high. And we never would have met if it wasn't for this project. And we've collaborated on certain things and been there for each other. And it's just one of the most amazing things. Again, like, literally stop and talk to everybody you can, because there's such a cool story there. And you must see that with the podcast. Like, every week you're getting to meet incredible people. And it gives us all hope.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, when did you start your podcast at that time, or was it later?
So I started the podcast after the 104, the 2-year stint. So as the pandemic didn't look like it was going to be 2 weeks anymore, I thought, well, how can we keep up the goodness of what we were doing with the photography side, and keep these stories coming? And so I started the podcast in 2020, and then had a little bit of hiatus, and have been back and running ever since January of this year.
So obviously I can say the same for you, getting to meet so many wonderful people. I feel like a dinosaur, because I'm still amazed at how it all happens, that you can meet people from different parts of the country, of the world. And, sometimes when you look at your stats and I see people are listening to my show in Africa, and I'm like, you're kidding. It's the most exciting thing. And to connect with people, like, just like you said, that you would never have the chance to meet. It's just, I fought it for a long time, starting a podcast. And my business coach said, I'm telling you, you're gonna like it, and I said, "Mm." And she was right. She was right, because this is the best part. This is the best part. I almost wish, though, I would like a live audience. I would like to
Yes,
see
yeah,
people reacting to the conversation, because I see how you and I react, but it would be a
yeah.
little more fulfilling to see others and
Oh, definitely.
how you're affecting them, right?
Well, that's something I'm actually pondering, is how to, like, wouldn't it be great to get a panel of fantastic women podcasters together? I'm thinking fall, we'll circle back. And I think, why should NPR get all the fun? I mean, we should be able to do it too. It'd be awesome. So,
Absolutely. I love that. Obviously, I love that. That's amazing. I've heard a few people do that, but they all seem to be in Arizona. And I'm like, why is everybody in Arizona? Not that I can't fly to Arizona, but just saying.
sure.
So, in your career, have there been moments? This is silly, because, of course, there have been moments that it's been challenging. Is there anything in particular that there was a time where you thought, oh my goodness, forget it, this isn't worth it? Maybe it was the pandemic. I mean, obviously you persevered, but
Yeah. Definitely the pandemic was certainly hard for photography,
yeah.
because it was just like non-existent. And it gave me a good time to pause and really kind of reevaluate maybe some of the jobs that I would take and be fine with having, but wasn't excited about anymore. So it did kind of open up my eyes to things that I really wanted to do. So I think even in my LinkedIn bio, I'm like, I'm passionate about female focused narratives. I think that we're still so squashed and kept down and kept in this good girl box, that not that we all have to be wild and crazy, but I just think we just need to be heard and seen. And so any chance that I can use my lens or my mic to elevate somebody else, that is, I know in my gut, that's what I'm here for. Versus maybe taking on corporate clients, that's great, but their bottom dollar isn't changing the worldview that I feel that needs to be nurtured, coddled, and brought up, especially our next generation of people behind us. I want to make sure that they're feeling secure as well.
Mm, wow. I absolutely love that. When you went back to school, what was it? Was there something in particular that you were trying to achieve, or that you wanted to move on to something new and different in your career? Or was it just to, further your knowledge?
I would say I'm definitely a constantly creative, crave education. Like I will read everything I can get my hands on about any new technology or I don't know, different things of that nature. But when it came to getting the master's in journalism, as a photographer that happens to do a lot of news related or even PR/news related assignments, I felt that having the master's degree in it to make sure that the ethics side of things was represented. Again, representation matters on all levels. But the skill that I was really hoping to add on to, and I had the great opportunity to do that, is work more into video. Something that I think as a, as a still photographer, I think I kind of got locked in just looking in the world in a little box.
Mm.
And like video is moving and also done out of order, right? Good videos are never shot necessarily start to finish. And it was a really amazing exercise for my brain to like understand that. One of my final projects ended up being a mini documentary, 11 minutes long, but it revisited some of the phenomenal women from my project. But now it was a moving, breathing thing. Like it was a totally different experience to be director, writer, producer. So that part of the school aspect was a really great challenge because it continues to be. But again, I'm like, okay, got a little more confidence and a whole lot of appreciation for those who do it so well.
Yeah. Oh, that is so interesting. I was just actually this morning was at a women's networking meeting. And I was just telling someone that when I first started writing my memoir, I was under the impression I had to write it in order. I don't know why I thought that, right? Because I just seems natural. You're going to read it in order. I'm going to write it in order. And then when someone gave me permission and said, you don't have to do that. And I was like, what? And it was such incredible freedom for me because then each day I could go and, I had an outline so I could say, what do I feel like talking about today and choose that. When I listened to some of the memoirs that I've listened to about actors and actresses, and they're talking about, well, we were shooting the last scene of the movie today, but yet, you didn't shoot the first scene. And I'm thinking, man, that must be so hard to get in that headspace because you're not, my stories were kind of not necessarily woven together. So they were a little bit standalone, but do the end before the beginning or the middle, or, I can see that that must be a challenge and like a whole new medium for you, right?
Absolutely. And when you think about it, like start with the end in mind, like what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? And because you're on a different aspect of this, you can kind of create the narrative or the feelings, the whatever. And also, I would think in memoir writing, it'd be cool to revisit, not just get stuck in the things that hurt and stuck and other things, but to get beyond it to see what the nugget was, what was the gem that gave you strength to go on, and then to elevate that in the story, that's very empowering. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
no, absolutely. It just was like, emotionally, where could I go today? Some days you can go further than other days, right?
Absolutely.
So, what advice would you give? I mean, I love the idea that, you've taken your gifts and you've used them to give women a voice. I mean, to give a lot of people a voice, but as you just said, that's one of your main missions, and it's an incredible one to me. What would you say to someone else who wanted to make a meaningful impact like that and didn't know where to begin?
And for other friends and colleagues that have deep passions about things but aren't sure, like just start with what's close to home, right? Sometimes it needs to be further away from home, right? For sure. Like sometimes you need a complete different distraction. But I think, I have a household of all men, or I did when they all lived here, so even my pets were male. I used to say our bird and our cat were boys. And I'm like, and I just needed that female energy around me too, to help, ground me and keep things going. So the advice is listen to your voice, listen to the little thing in your stomach that gives you excitement, and figure out, is it a give back? Is it a I need to learn or expand? Is it I need community? And then there, my gosh, this is where Google could just give you so many ideas. But just pick a handful, or if you have the luxury of time and you could try out a few different things before you commit to anything, then you can you're like, oh, well, I like that. That was a great experience, but I want to do this, or I'd rather do that. Um, these, and then my last idea on that is ask your immediate core around you to maybe write 3 of your strengths on a piece of paper, or an email or a text message, and send them to you. And then, and look at that and see if they're the things that you have forgotten about of yourself, or where your strengths come from, and then go out and see where that aligns.
Hmm. I love all of that advice. I once did that exercise. I don't think that I asked for 3 strengths, but I think 3 adjectives to describe me as a person. And it was very, very interesting to see the differences and similarities, but there were so many similarities. But the funniest thing is that, and maybe I had like 10 or 15 people, my mother and my brother, each out of 3 words, 3 choices to describe me, both said chatty. And everyone else knows I'm chatty. That was one of your top 3 words to describe me, but it was just funny that they both said chatty. The other thing
I
that
love
made
that.
me think of this morning, I'm at this networking meeting and it's called BW Nice Businesswomen, businesswomen involved in networking and charity and education. And the woman who started it wanted to, have women come and network in a safe space where, it's a little different feel when it's just women, right? As opposed to men. But she wanted something different. And so each chapter supports a local safe house for victims of domestic abuse. And then the women get together and throw a fundraiser every year. And, it's such a wonderful thing. And I've watched her, thrive and struggle over the last 15 years, but her dedication and determination. And it just shows that, it doesn't take much, right? You just have to have an idea and you have to have the guts to give it a try. And I think just trying anything, like you said, sometimes it feels so overwhelming. Well, how am I ever going to do what Amy did? You could be sitting home thinking,
Right.
you didn't start like this, right?
Gosh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone said to me when I started teaching just this summer that they're like, oh, that overnight success story. And I'm like, yeah, that took 53 years. Yeah, this curly Q, whatever. And I'm like, and plus, I don't think I put it on my bingo card when I was 9 that this is going to happen. It's like the cool thing is like opening yourself up to, wow, what's next, and the power of like an expanded mindset, and openness to like, how am I going to best serve today, me and the world, like, and if I can only serve me or my cat, then I guess that's okay for today, and we'll try again tomorrow. Yeah.
Exactly. Love it. Amy, such a pleasure talking to you and getting to know you. Can you let everyone know where they can learn more about you?
Oh, yes, for sure. Thank you for that. uh my website is amyboylephotography.com, where the 52 Phenomenal Women Project lives, as well as the podcast is 52, the number, phenomenalwomen.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn under my name, which I can send you as well. And also Instagram, where I tend to put my behind the scenes and just more about who I am, which is Amy Boyle Photo.
Wonderful. Well, Amy, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again for coming on and having uh giving us all of this really great wisdom, honestly. So in a half hour, look at all we got from you. Thank you again.
Oh, it was totally my pleasure. And I look forward to the chance where we can sit down live in person and take on that audience feedback, because like live performance is nothing more fulfilling, right?
Absolutely. I can't wait. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Thanks for spending part of your day with me here on Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. It's been great having you, and I hope you're leaving with a spark to light up your journey to more. Remember, every big change starts with a single maybe. If you're ready to kickstart that change but not sure where to begin, I've got just the thing for you. Head over to download my free guide, The One Critical Step to Kickstart Change, and take that all-important first step. Let's make those maybes into reality one sprinkle at a time. Catch you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific with more stories, tips, and that extra push you might need. I'm Debbie saying goodbye for now, but always remember, maybe, just maybe, you can.